This meeting is being recorded.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another adventure of the Road to Success series. We are the Mental Health, Wellness, and Safety Committee, and I am Asia Clermont, the committee chair, and I would like to introduce our VP, Karen Masola.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome. I appreciate everyone taking your time out during lunch to be here today. I would like to recognize some faces that everybody can go to and see and meet from our board of directors or our office staff. So first off, and I'm going in no particular order, we have Kay Hawkins, who's on the board of directors as Duval County Council President. Welcome, Kay. Chair of our Education Committee, Felita Tutt. Board of Directors member and Orange County Council President, Kelly Crumbaker. Our Florida PTA Secretary, Melanie Williams. Our Florida PTA Vice President of Leadership, Lawrence Claremont. Oh, and from our office staff, Kimberly Adamski, dealing with all the compliance issues. Jeff Tisco, who is chair of our technology committee. Denise Nicholas, I can't remember her title, but she is on the board of directors as a chair.
Awards and recognition.
Awesome. Thank you, Denise. You have been recognized. And that is all I see right now. I don't see anyone else in the waiting room. And we just say thank you and welcome. We can get started.
Thank you. And today Shelly and I are going to be your tours for this trip. The title of our presentation is Bullies Are Not Born, They Are Made. Los bullies no nacen, se hacen. And I have to introduce my Vice Chair, Shelly Pedraza.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is super exciting. So next up, we're going to go ahead and with anything that you do with PTA, the idea behind it is always our mission, right? Our babies. So our destination, because we're on a road trip, our destination today is our mission. So the PTA's mission is to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. And our Florida PTA saying this year is my child, your child, our children.
Thank you, Shelly. And before we start our trip, we want to go over the PTA rules, or our ABCs. And P stands for please pay attention to all materials and resources. C, treasure the information and apply it to the programs throughout the years that you're going to be creating. S, support each other as you learn and implement what you have learned today. And A is for ask questions. Please, please do not leave this training with any questions or doubts. So ready? Get your water, get your paper, and get your pen, and let's go.
Hey, Doodle Bob. Let's get on the bus. It's time to go. Let's get on the bus. Hey, don't you know? Let's get on the bus. Go here to there. Let's get on the bus. Go everywhere.
And here we are in our bus, all on board, hoping that we all are ready. And I guess we're gonna play it again.
No, I'm sorry.
So that's okay. We live, that's happened when we live. So thank you. So now that we are all on board, we're gonna ask some questions. When you hear the word of mental health, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Anyone? You can raise your hands and unmute yourself and speak, or you can put it in the chat. Anybody want to take a shot to sit when you hear the word mental health? What comes to mind first? Is there anyone in the chat saying, nobody want to say anything? Okay.
Taking care of your mind, Asia.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Melanie. And that is pretty much the nutshell of it. Mental health is just the state of your mental well-being. It's what enables people to cope with any stress in life, realize their abilities, we learn, how we work together, how we contribute. It is actually keeping your mind healthy. It's like at any other things, we have our body health, our wholeness. So mental health is part of that. It's part of that wellness. When you hear the word mental illness or disorders, what comes to mind first? Anybody?
I will say in the chat, Crystal wrote for mental health, lots of emotions.
Thank you, Crystal. That is true. It is because you are dealing with that in your mental state. When you hear the word mental illness or mental disorder, what comes to mind? Come on, don't
Something
be
that can
shy. We're
be-
PTA.
Something that can be treated.
That's good. Thank you, Karen. And yes, when we talk about mental illness or disorders, are like any kind of pathology, any kind of illness, like a diabetes, but it's something that has that is in relationship to the mind. It deal with our behaviors, our emotional responses to anything that we face in life, whether it be stress, problem, the way we function. And there's so many among in the United States, among the world, not just among us, but everywhere. Mental illness is something that is as bad as a heart attack, as a diabetes or any other pathology.
And Crystal wrote stress, confusion, frustrations when thinking of mental or disorders. And Kay added someone who has a chemical imbalance.
Definitely. And we have learned that mental illness can be that chemical imbalances. It can be something that is a wire in your DNA or something that you just acquired through your doing life. And this is very alarming. There are millions of people that are affected by mental illness every year across the country. And I will say across the world. Many people just like you and like me, they perform, they work, they learn together, they inspire, they laugh, they love, and they do everyday life. So keep in mind that somebody that you might find someone that just look like nothing is happening, but something could be going inside. And we need to be very cognizant of that. The most common type of mental illness disorders that we have in the United States of America, there's so many, the list is a mile long. However, we are going to denote today only the 3 most common that we face. And one of them, the first one is anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder, and PTSD. We might ask, why is mental health important to the overall health? Like I said before, it's like at any physical health quality, and it's important for us to be able to function in our overall. If our mind is not stable, if we don't have a healthy mind, we're not going to be able to perform. We're not going to be able to be who we were destined to be, and the leaders and the passions that we have is going to suffer as well. Can your mental health change? Yes, like anything. It's all about what you eat, your exercise, how you cope with stress. It's important for you to have a plan to, when something comes to your mind or something you're facing a situation in life, that you can have any coping mechanism or anybody that you can talk to. It's always good to make sure that you have a de-stress in place. And that's what we're going to be doing as a PTA, educating the family and the parents and the students to how to maintain a mental health. Why is this relevant to us as PTA's leader? Because we must be to educate. We must be cognizant of the families and children are in our community and the schools that we serve.
So that brings us to something that we felt we needed to touch on. This past week, Florida was devastated by Hurricane Ian. And one of the major things that goes along with, we have a lot of hurricanes in Florida. A lot of us are used to dealing with it and stuff like that. But every once in a while, we have something that is devastating. And that was definitely one of those things. So we have families right now that are definitely struggling the effects. So according to the Florida Behavioral Health Association, there will be a lot of people struggling with emotional effects, but then it also ends up opening up those floodgates for anxiety, stress, fear, PTSD, and other mental health issues, right? Because we have not just adults, but children that had to, stand on their kitchen cabinets, or they lost all of their belongings. And it's devastating. Some people lost their homes, and unfortunately we had people lose their lives. So we did want to take a moment of silence just to acknowledge the pain that people are struggling with, and that it is something that's extremely important and that we need to acknowledge as a whole. So just one moment of silence. So we still have people that, families in the Panhandle that were impacted by Hurricane Michael in 2018, and they are still struggling with the emotional effects that come along with a major storm and the aftermath. 50% of survivors of Hurricane Katrina in 2005 suffered some form of mental distress afterwards.
And like Shelley said, the aftermath effect of Hurricane Ian, PTSD is going to be prevalent. As she mentioned, it's going to open the floodgates for stress and anxiety. Like I said, anxiety is one of the major mental disorders or illness that Americans face. And it is treatable. It is one of the, it's highly, highly, highly treatable. I cannot stop saying that, but only few people get treated. Only few people have the push to go and say something is wrong with me. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to start learning to open the dialogue with those families. Anxiety affects 31.9% of our American population, both adults and children. And it is very alarming, the statistic of it. Major depressive disorder, which is also something that will be open with a hurricane, with a natural disaster, it's affect most women than men. And it's prevalent in women because we always being concerned. We always are worried about this, about that. As mom, as leaders, we always have that. And some of the symptoms are that we sometimes feel worthless. And that will happen with our children in regards to the bully. So PTSD is another major illness that we face in the United States. Symptoms are flashback, nightmares, severe anxiety, as well as uncontrollable thought about the event that had just happened. PTSD has 4 types. Intrusive memories, like I said, something that comes out of the nowhere. Avoidance, the child gets secluded, they just don't want to talk about it, or the individual, not just the child. Negative changes in the thinking of the mood. I mean, they start developing aggressive, they hurt other people, or they do things to hurt themselves. Also, changes in the physical and emotional reactions. They can just, any little things can trigger that memory and they can explode. And we have to be cognizant of that in our community and the schools that we serve.
And we wanted to make sure that we included our littles, right? Because a lot of our our children that are 6 years old and younger, they don't have the ability to tell us how they're feeling. You know, they're not going to be able to say, you know, I'm scared, or I did this, or, you know, I'm worried. So it's really important to make sure that you are paying attention to our littles as well. And their symptoms will be different. They may be reenacting the traumatic event or aspects of the traumatic event. So they might be playing, like, you know, playing flood, or, you know, pretending that there's a big storm and that they have to hide. That can be a sign that maybe we need to kind of keep an eye on them. And then also having frightening dreams, you know, so if they're having nightmares and it has to do with the storm, or they're scared or something like that, that's another thing that you need to kind of keep an eye on. And if it continues, you know, so it's natural to get some type of fear right after, right? All of us experience, you know, like when you almost get into a car accident and afterwards you have like the adrenaline, so you're like already kind of stressed out about it. But if that continues, that is when you need to make sure that you go see a doctor. So if you have disturbing thoughts about the traumatic event, or if something, you're not able to kind of move past, you know, those emotions, give yourself a couple of weeks. But if you're still having that after a month, definitely go see a doctor, get yourself checked out. And PTSD is definitely one of those things that if you get treatment for it and you work on it, you can get better. Like, things will get a lot better. So just keep that in mind. And we're not doctors, but we need to say that just in case.
Thank you very much. And we just want to stress that we're not experts, we're not doctors, we're just reporters. And we are not trying to diagnose anything. We just sharing with you the information that we have learned as reporters. This infographic is very interesting because it shows in a nutshell what is going on with mental health in across America. Among our youth, 17% of our children from ages 6 to 17, which is the school that we deal with, that we serve, experience a mental health disorder. 1 in 20 adults in the US has a serious mental illness. 1 in 5 had experienced some sort of it in some given moment in time. And this is help us to see the bigger picture. So when we are doing programs, we can pulse our population and see what is the dynamic, what is the diversity, their numbers by the race, the belief, the cultural background also affect in the way that they can be open in regards to mental illness. Now you may ask, how all this relate to bully? It does relate because we know that bully is just someone that is hurting other. And bully is also, we can see some PTSD, some anxiety, some depression. It's kind of a cocktail mixed together in the person that bully others. So keep in mind the numbers when you're making your programs for prevention bullies or anything in regards to mental health.
Thank you, Asia. And it's definitely one of those things that you never know. Bullying is horrible across the board, but you never know how someone is going to react to the bullying. You know, some people, like Asia said, like some people, you know, they get depressed or anxiety or PTSD. And then we do have those children that end up taking their own lives because they're that upset. We were thinking about adding that, but it was way too emotional, and then I ended up crying, and then I wouldn't be able to do my part of the presentation. So, but it's definitely something that, you know, it varies, depends on what is being done and how that person handles it, and it can be devastating. You know, there's families that have lost children because of bullying. So, what is bullying? Most of us know, we have an idea of what bullying is, right? So we've seen it, or it's happened to our child or something like that, or maybe we've experienced it when we were younger. But I just wanted to make sure that we went through it a little bit, just in a little bit more detail. So bullying is a distinctive pattern of repeatedly and deliberately harming and humiliating others. So it has to have those two things. So it has to be deliberate and it has to be repeatedly. If someone is doing it by mistake and they don't realize that they're doing it, then it's still not nice, and it's still something that needs to be worked on, but it's not necessarily bullying. So the deliberate targeting of those of lesser power is what distinguishes bullying from garden variety aggression. Bullying can involve verbal attacks. So if you look at the picture, it shows that there is, physical, which is, physical attack. So if they are stealing, tripping, hitting someone, hair pulling, breaking someone's things, if they're walking through the hallway and someone like hits their books out of their hand, that's physical. Then you have verbal. So the verbal is like your typical stuff that you see often, when someone is being mean, they're calling someone names or threatening someone or just saying hurtful comments or teasing. And then this past decade, I want to say that cyber bullying has gotten really bad. So like it's the mean texts, talking about someone online, prank calls, sending pictures or something like that about the person and making fun of them, or creating a whole Facebook thing to, so cyber has gotten very ugly. And then you also have social. And I think with this one, sometimes you can tell when it's happening, and sometimes it can be a little bit harder to notice. So like sometimes you might have people that are excluding others and saying, oh, don't be their friend, don't talk to them, we don't like them, or spreading rumors. But it can be something as simple as just excluding someone repeatedly on purpose. That is a form of bullying. It's social bullying. And that is it's very hurtful. And it definitely hurts those that it happens to. So.
Thank you, Shelley. And we have some statistic in regards to bully. How common is bully? We hear all the time about bully, and we have across the nation 77 million of students from the ages 12 to 18. And 20% of those students had experienced nationwide some sort of bullying, have been bullied. Out of those students, which is kind of 15.4 millions, have been bullied, and 40% of those has been only able to report it. And sadly, and as Shelley mentioned, we wanted to put a video, but it was so sad in regards to this mother, because it's the way that we interact. When the child came up front and say, I was being bullied, it was the way that the school handled the situation, the way that it make that child to be hit again, retaliated, the bully retaliated, and the child took his life. And that is something that we need to be cognizant in how we deliver, how we deal when the child comes to us. Out of those children that has the bravery to report that has been bullied, 56% think that they were afraid to say it because they thought that that bully is going to has some sort of an influence, and it will influence other students to how they view them. Also in the social aspect, that people will not like them or accept them, that they were physically stronger than them, that they have more money. So there's so many ideas that goes into the child mind that hinders them or prevent them to step forward and say that they've been bullied. Bullying is very common in the school. It happens more in the school than anywhere. Nationwide, 19% of our students from grades 9 to 12 report being bullied. And this is the places where it happens the most: in the hallways, in the stairs, in the classrooms, in the cafeteria, outside the school ground, in the school bus. A lot of bullying happened in that point, and we have to be cognizant of the places where that happened and educate not just the family and our children as well in regards to it. And there's another infographic in regards to the numbers of bullying, the effect of bullying, and the effect of bullies that happen among our students. Every 7 minutes, and this is what I want to highlight, every 7 minutes, a child is bullied. Every 7 minutes. And it hurts my heart because this is kind of have become a pandemic. We see that because of it, kids get cheated on school. Our children come home with a black eye, or they come home depressed or sad, and we as parents don't know what to say or what to do. And that's what we're here for. We're here to educate those parents. And remember, every 7 minutes a child is bullied. And we want to put this analogy of the balloon. A child comes to the classroom with things that happen at home. And as they go throughout the day, or they get a schoolwork, adults that get work, the relationship, the friendship, negative feedback, natural disaster, adversity, death, loss, divorce, illness. So many things goes into that as they breathe, and we as an adult and children equally, our minds get saturated, and inevitably the things that we don't want to happen happened. And then we ended up having a severe case of depression or anxiety or PTSD because we were not soon enough to attend and be alert of the signs that were happening.
It happens every time. Every time I try to switch.
That's okay. What family can do, we need to encourage our kids to do what they love. If they love to sing, if they love to do art, if they love to do sport, if they're good at writing, if they're good at telling jokes, if they're good to pretend and act things out, encourage them to do what they love. What else can we do as a family? We need to model how to treat each other with kindness and respect. We have to teach that at home. And we also have to make sure that that are in school, out there, the leaders in the community, we also are kind to each other. We have to model, because our children are watching everything we do. They watch. And our body language, even when we're driving and the child is in the car and we just get an outburst of anger because somebody caught or beeped the horn of us, the children is watching. And that behavior can be replicated and mimicked and be just targeted to another student because they might think it is okay. So we need to be very conscious on encouraging them in how we model in kindness and respect to our children.
So the modeling is extremely important. And that's why, like, when we do presentations like this, I like dress for the occasion. I have a shirt that says "Be kind first," because that's important, you know, like, especially us as PTA leaders, we need to make sure that we're being kind to each other. So bullying solutions are not simple, right? We have been seeing bullying for a very long time. Bullying prevention approaches that show the most promise confront the problems from different angles. So you want to make sure that you're including your whole community. It's not just the teachers doing it, or it's not just a presentation that you do one time a year. You know, it is including everyone. You're including the students, the families, admin, teachers, staff, bus drivers, nurses, cafeteria, front office people, anyone that has contact with your children should be included in that. You know, so you want to make sure that it's not just creating one presentation and saying, okay, we did it for Bully Prevention Month, we're done. It's about creating a culture of respect. It's about making sure that you are consistently being respectful of everyone and just being positive, be kind, and that makes a huge difference. We've seen, and this is from stopbullying.gov, but zero tolerance and expulsion are not effective approaches. We have to actually change the culture. So that being said, first thing we can do as PTA leaders is always, you know, look at ourselves first, right? Before we can fix everyone else, we need to kind of look at ourselves first and kind of get an idea of where we're at in this journey. So PTA boards, there are a lot of things that you can do for each other just to make sure that you are all in a good mental health space. So you can check in with each other, especially now with after Ian. A lot of people, and I've been checking in on some of our units in where I'm at in my county. And, you know, there are people that even on the PTA boards have lost their homes or they are struggling. And even before Ian, people go through divorce, people have deaths in the family, they go through different things. We all have different issues that we are dealing with. And you want to make sure that you're checking in with each other. Listen to their ideas. You want to make sure that when you have a board, you are giving everyone a chance to give their ideas and let them know that they're valued. If you, and this is a pet peeve of mine, but if somebody comes to the board and they have an idea and you say, well, this is what we're doing because this is what we've always done. They may not understand why you've always done something that way. Maybe they have a valid idea. Maybe their idea would work. Maybe you can work together to tweak it so that it would work with your community. When we just shut someone down like that, all it does is just make them feel like they are not important. Their ideas are not important. So you want to make sure you don't do stuff like that. Adjust jobs as needed, especially right now with everything going on. If somebody is not able to be on doing all of your social media all the time, maybe somebody else can help them and kind of just work on it together. There are ways that we can adjust so that we don't have people that are super, super stressed out. And then always assume good intent. That is one of my biggest things, giving each other grace and all of that stuff, but always assume good intent. Sometimes we're in a rush and we might just say something quickly because we're already in our brain, we've moved on to the next thing. But but that other person might not understand that you were busy or whatever the case is. And they might be like, oh my gosh, this person doesn't like me, or they, just assume good intent, make sure that if you do have issues, and I saw Bert was on here, but if you do have issues and you do need help, you have your county council presidents, you have Bert with the VP of regions and councils that you can go to help mend those fences and so that you can work together. Because at the end of the day, it always goes back to the PTA mission. Every single thing that we do has to go back to the PTA mission. So if you don't have to be best friends, but you do need to work together to make sure that you're able to accomplish your goals. So that being said, you can do group bonding experiences. You can do a board retreat, escape room. You really learn what someone's about when you do an escape room with them. I did not realize one of my board members was as extreme as they were until we did an escape room, because she was all over the place. Dinner, going out with your board, and even having a board coach. That is something that some PTAs are doing as well. Any questions for PTA board stuff?
Shelley, two things. One, can you explain the board coach more? And can you stand up so they can see your whole shirt? It was a request.
Okay, wait. There you go. Be kind first. There you go. It's one of my favorite shirts. Perfect. But I have a ton of shirts that go with whatever theme it is that we're presenting on. So I have my LGBTQ, I have everything. So, and the board coach. So there are different coaches out there. There are life coaches and different coaches that are available where you can actually have them come in and just get your board on the same page. So for example, if you have a board, and this happens a lot, if you have a board that there's one or two people that are oh, let's do all the things that we can possibly do. We're going to do this and 15 other things. And then you have someone else that's I can't, there is no way, I don't have the capacity. So they're really good at coming in and bringing those two levels together and kind of just working with you. So you can do a search for a life coach. They can do groups. A friend of mine actually is doing it. And I think next time we have a webinar, we may be inviting her out to do that with us as a group. So definitely be on the lookout for that. She's doing it for free for us because she loves us. But yeah, so it's definitely something that it's good. And if you are not able to do that, your county councils 1000% are there to help you. that is why we are there. So definitely reach out to them. Thanks y'all for liking my shirt. Okay, and then okay, so this slide is it's a lot. So I like data. I really like pulling reports. This is a report that is done annually. Okay, so this is from the Department of Education. It's a school environment safety incident report. So like if you look at it, and hopefully you guys can see it because it's a lot of little numbers and letters. But if you look at bullying, it's like about five things down. You can see that there was only 1,659 reported. And based on the numbers that Asia was giving us, which I think it was like only 19% are reported, that shows how much we are not reporting the bullying. But then, so this is what got my eye and why I wanted to share it. And you can always download these and like look, they break them down by county and by school. So you can see for your specific school. But what I noticed was that if you look at the bullying related, you will see that bullying comes into play with a lot of other issues as well. So bullying leads to aggravated battery. It leads to disruption on campuses, like major ones. It also has harassment. There was 151 cases of harassment, 25 physical attacks. So that is like, for it to be counted, I mean, it's got to be, it's a thing. Sexual harassment, sex offense, and intimidation was 217. So the reason I wanted to show that is just to show that it's not just bullying. Bullying turns into other things, and it can turn into something where someone gets arrested. It can be a huge thing. So it's super important to make sure that we can do everything we can to lower the bullying numbers, because these are not accurate. But okay, the fun part. So don't cheat. Don't look at my screen yet. Need to look at people's faces. Okay, so how many of you have already done a bullying program this year or have something in mind or have an idea? Yay, Crystal. Feel free to, you can definitely write in the chat if you have an awesome program that you want to share with other people. It's always one of the biggest things that we can do is share ideas, because sometimes somebody might have something that is like phenomenal that we never would have thought of. And that is one of the big points of making sure that you're including everyone in your PTA with their ideas, because if we all agreed, that would be super boring. So Krista, if you want to share your idea, definitely feel free. But I'm going to go ahead and go through some of our stuff that we have on here. So these are all different assembly ideas. I went through and we kind of looked and saw what PTAs have done in the past. And so we are not recommending these, but these are some ideas that we put out there. So superhero. So if you are for like elementary schools, Omega Man is really great to, to do all that stuff. He's like a superhero and he teaches people about showing how to be caring and stuff like that. There's a magic show. There's actually 2 magic shows that I found that are, one of them is a motivational youth speaker. So it's a touch of magic. And then the other one is by Abracabully, who is more magic based. There's juggling and comedy show. It's a high energy juggling and comedy show while giving the tools to make a positive difference in any bullying situation. So some of these are in person, and a lot of these have virtual. So if they're not from Florida, you can still do it, and your unit can't afford to pay, a bigger amount. You can still do it virtually and it'll be less expensive. So that's an option as well. The BMX show, they are Florida based. I know a unit that did a BMX show. They've been doing it every year because kids absolutely love it. So if you had a chance to do something positive with BMX. Not just them, but anyone. Like the kids absolutely loved it. Loved it. It was awesome. Theater show. This one's pretty cool. It's a play. So it's 40 to 60 minutes, bully prevention with a review with the actors. So the actors will then talk to the students and let them know, like, you know, different parts of the play and what it meant and stuff like that. And then we have a virtual workshop. It's called Hey Dude, Nice Shoes. I love the title. This workshop consists of up to 2 versions of the student presentation to be presented virtually. So the way it works, there's one presentation for the students and then one presentation that's meant for the parents that night.
Shelley,
So
do
it's
you have a link for that one?
Ooh, yes, I will find it. I can find it. Once I'm done, I can grab it. I thought I put it on there, but yeah, it's gone. And that's a great one. I really like that one because having that parent presentation is key, because one thing that we've noticed as me and Asia were doing our research and trying to come up with different ideas, the biggest thing is that modeling that behavior, you know, like, especially now, I mean, I don't know if y'all noticed, but, you know, people tend to be very opinionated these days. And it's definitely one of those things where it's great to have opinions. It's great to have, you know, to advocate for what you believe. But I think we need to make sure that we're teaching our students and our kids to just still listen to the other person, you know, to be able to find compromises or at least show that respect that is so important. And then the read aloud is free. You can go to any community library and ask the librarian to read to the kids, and they're normally like, yes, awesome, we will do it. So, and you can have fun with that. And then this slide has different ideas of what PTA can do. So like these are like PTA-led programs. So it's not necessarily finding someone on the outside, you know, to come into the school. It's just stuff that you guys can all do. So with these, you're looking at, so Unity Day is October 19th. So with Unity Day, some people like to dress, you know, to wear orange. You can create a Unity wall with handprints. The kids love looking at their little handprints. If you do like a shape, so like if let's say you are the dolphins, then you would make it in a dolphin shape or something like that, and it's super cute. Colorful Post-it notes on lockers with positive words. That works well with middle school and high school. Middle school won't admit that they liked it, but they did. And high school will be like, oh, okay. World map with pins from all families in the community. That one I like because it also includes more diversity. So it's one of those things where you can just get a huge map of the world, post it in somewhere like the main office at the school or something like that. And you can just have people as they come in, you know, like a curriculum night or some other night that's major at the school. And you can just have them come in and just put a sticker. So you can just buy like those little star stickers or something like that, put that on there. And then at the end of the night, you're going to have a really good example of like what your school demographic is, you know, like just like the diversity, but also it does create unity because you like are looking at it and it's like, oh my gosh, there's somebody else that's from this area. There's somebody else that's from here. And that's super positive and exciting. So the idea behind bullying, it's anti-bullying programs. It's not just, okay, I'm going to talk to you about bullying and, you know, bullying is bad. It's about giving them that positive attitude, making sure that they learn social skills and all these different things. So anything that is mental health positive can be an anti-bullying program. Movie night. So if you share a kindness movie and you provide popcorn and maybe a chili cook-off to bribe some of those people that normally wouldn't come out, that's something that 1,000% would count as an amazing program to bring everyone together. You can do a kindness bulletin board. Those work really cute in elementary school because then when they pass by, they're always pointing and looking at the stuff that you put on there. Bathroom stall, positive messages. Silicone bracelets with positive messages. If you put the silicone bracelets are, it depends how cool you make them look, but definitely make sure that you have the approval of a student so that you can be cool, because I was told I was not cool when I tried to do mine. Lawn signs, you can come up with different positive lawn signs and put them throughout the front entrance of the school. So it not only impacts the students, but also the families if they're passing through. You can do webinars for students about self-talk and mental health. One of the biggest things that I think our youth don't realize, and even adults, is that positive self-talk can completely change your outlook on when things happen. You know, like I think a lot of people don't even realize that they're doing negative self-talk until it's pointed out to them and they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that's what I was doing. So definitely look into that. That's a great program to have. And you can just invite, you know, a therapist or the school guidance counselor to maybe do something like that. Parent trainings through outside organizations. Fiddlers has a bunch of recorded webinars, and in the past they have done like group webinars. So you can do something like that. They cover a lot of ESE topics. So if you have do you want to do something with special needs and talk about, you know, social skills and stuff like that, they're a great resource. You can do little libraries. Make sure that if you do have a little library, you can add kindness books or books about making friends. And if you don't have a little library, you can start one. Invite school guidance counselors to present during a general meeting, and they can explain, like, it's so many things. There are so many things that you can do. It can be as little or as big as you want it to be, but, you know, guidance counselors, they work with our kids, so they see what's happening at the schools, and oftentimes they would love to present to the parents and let them know what's going on and what they're doing, or what services are provided and what services are not. You can do a mental health section in your newsletter. I have to stop at some point because I will keep coming up with ideas, but mental health section for
Shelley,
newsletter.
speaking of, Kay put an idea in the chat to say, can we use these ideas to put it in our newsletter for Unity Day to give local units things they can do in their school? So my answer is yes. If this committee could present me an article by 10/14, that would be the deadline for the next newsletter.
Okay. Yep. We're on it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do
We
it.
are on it. Yeah. So, like, you know, and you can do newsletters. So you can do like a mental health info about coping, positive stories, community resources. You know, every single one of our counties have different resources for our families. And a lot of them have free items that they can do as well. Like, there's different free programs. So it's really important to look at your county and see what's available and just work from that. And the smallest step is okay. If you're not ready to do something major, that's fine. It doesn't have to be anything super, super huge, but you can at least take that first step. A first step could be something as simple as a Thankful Thursday or a Wellness Wednesday, where every Wednesday you post something about wellness or something positive on social media. So that's a good first step if you're kind of like nervous about it and you don't have the funds or anything like that. And of course, I have the two on the bottom that are like the most important. Create a wellness committee. You know, if you have the ability to have somebody in charge of a wellness committee, that makes a huge difference, because you have somebody that's their sole purpose is to just come up with a Wednesday post. And that can be all that they need to do. Like, it doesn't have to be a massive committee with tons of jobs, but just something that kind of gets us in the right direction. And the most important thing by far is model appropriate behaviors. Everyone, everywhere, all the time. So, like, all of us have our bad days. You know, we're all going to have our moments when we're like, okay, we are not the most patient person today. But at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you pay attention to that and you model that behavior, because our kids, like Asia said, they are watching. They keep track of everything that we do. My son could tell you everything that I have done, even if I'm not even in the same room with him. Like, that boy can hear throughout the house. So just make sure that you're keeping track of that. And that's all we can do. You know, like, it's just take one step. Does not have to be anything massive. If you do something massive, awesome. Send us pictures. We would love to share them. But just take a step in the right direction.
Thank you. And with that, I would like to stress that we need to keep in mind that when we are tailoring, when we're creating programs, the objective is to keep a dialogue open, an open dialogue with our community, with our families throughout the year. We need to promote the family engagement. All those pieces have to be in mind when we create in family engagement, to educate, to increase our membership, to build a community, to and also relationship outside of the community with other organizations that can come and help us with the program. We need to find like-minded organizations that are there doing already the work that we can just partnership with, to have a partnership with them, and that way we can create a successful program for our student. In my favorite one of all the program is the self-talk program, because like Shelly said, that you can imagine how many negative thoughts people has, and that'll be great. Then we have posted some resources here for you to be able to look at it, helping children and adolescents to cope with traumatic events, the health hotlines, the suicidal, the disaster, the crisis text line. We have some of that we can put in the chat as well, so you guys can put it in your newsletter or give it to your local, to families in your local unit.
Also
Keep
posted
in
in
mind,
the chat was an idea to use your students, the self-talk, create little vignettes for them and then post them and share them.
that is excellent. That is excellent. And keep in mind that the road to success is always under construction. We always going to come out with idea. We always building something, and we have to keep that in mind. So we have to welcome each idea that we have, and as we pulse our community, we'll see that. Please, please, the last thing is that if you have any question in regards to this presentation, do not leave this presentation this time with any question. We have time. The floors are open. Ask us any questions. You can email us at mental.health@floridapta.org, or you can put in the chat. You can raise your hand. So we want to hear from you. Any questions, any comments? Best practice sharing.
I did want to add very quickly that I was trying to talk really fast, so I apologize. I did want to add that also the buddy bench, that is something that a lot of our units have done, where the idea behind it is that, a child does not sit alone. So if for whatever reason a child is lonely or isn't playing with anyone, they can sit at that buddy bench and the teachers automatically know, okay, this child needs a buddy, or let me sit down and talk to him, or maybe find him a friend or something like that, or just find a way to include him with the other students. And then there's a lot of other stuff. We will try to make sure that we get everything compiled so that we can share it, because we even have the peace run. Karen attended one of our peace run things that we did one year, and it's beautiful. Like, it's people from all over the world that come together and talk about peace and kindness and how you can treat each other. And they include the students, so the students get really into it, and it's beautiful. I mean, they are runners, so they're also showing, like how important it is to be healthy and running around and all that stuff, and it's gorgeous. So we will make sure that we get all of that for all of you.
Any questions? With that, Karen,
Michelle
we give
has
you
a, thank you. Michelle has a comment in the chat about gender and sexual minorities being horribly bullied, being further stigmatized by Florida's new laws. This amplifies negative self-talk and suicide risk. What do you suggest we do as Florida PTA to help these kids?
I will say that it's good for you to just talk to them, put an assembly and start just having those conversation, do a vignette that somebody else put in there, anything that can let them know that you welcome them, because sometimes they are afraid to come and tell you, and they have a safe place to it just go for the LGBTQ, right? Shelley, anything else you want to say in regards to that?
Yeah,
that I'm
so
not
Karen did put on the chat that we're going to keep advocating, which is true. So like every year when we go to legislative conference, we 1000% are finding ways to kind of push back on some of these horrible, ugly bills that keep coming through. Sometimes we lose, which is extremely frustrating. But we do have a lot of important partnerships, you know, with other nonprofits that are trying to work on getting safer places for our kids, because you're right, it's horrible. I mean, the way things are right now, we're taking steps back, and that's not the way that it should be. So we're definitely working on stuff. We have the Kaleidoscope PTA with a lot of great advocates on there that are trying to come up with different ideas of things that we can do as well. And I think the biggest thing that we can do, I know me personally and just PTAs in general, is to keep including, you know, all of our students, all of our families in our events, you know, and showing that it doesn't matter what, I'm gonna end up going off the rails, but it doesn't matter what, you know, certain people may think. There are babies, there are families, and every single one of our students are important. And even our staff, you know, our staff are having to deal with stuff like that too. So it's incredibly frustrating, but we are working on it as well. Thank you for that. It's important to highlight that.
Yes, and remember that if we are not able to change the law, we are able to change the way that they receive themselves, they perceive themselves, and how they interact with themselves, by creating a positive environment and doing a lot of positive self-talk with them as we interact with them.
Thank you
I
so
don't
much.
have the link. I don't have the link for Kaleidoscope. I know I'm a member. I can try to find it.
Me too.
I'm a member too. Lawrence, maybe Lawrence can have the link and put it there in the chat if he does. But I'm also a member.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So we have 2 minutes left, and I'll bring some closing remarks. I do want to recognize some of our Vice President of Membership, Charmaine Postal, who was able to join us on our call, as well as Bert Miller, Regions and Council Vice President. And thank you all for joining us today, for taking out of your day some time. I do want to tell you about a few things that are coming up with Florida PTA. And to get to my cheat sheet, on October 12th, which is next Wednesday, at both noon and 7, there'll be another Road to Success. This is a good one. School board basics, what you need to know to be a better PTA advocate. So typically the way it happens is just after these calls, the new links will come out for you to join those, but they're also currently available on floridapta.org. If you go there, you can already register for next Wednesday, and I've just added those to the chat as well. Spread the word, because that's where it starts, you know, locally. I would have liked everyone to please save the date for our 2023 LegCon, which is our legislative conference. It will be in person in Tallahassee this year, March 26th to the 28th. And, you know, more details as we get closer. As I understand, we are back in the Tallahassee Center, which gives us more space for everyone. And then finally, save the date, if you haven't seen it already, is on April 15th. Anybody know what that is? Before I push send? Anyone? Oh my gosh. Florida PTA is about to celebrate 100 years of advocating. Every child, one voice. That's why we were formed. And on April 15th in Orlando at the Second Harvest, there will be a celebration starting on Friday night and into Saturday. And it's going to be so exciting what we can see, what we have actually accomplished over 100 years, and to honor those that came before us. I want to thank everyone for being here today. It is 1 p.m. and we will end our call. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone.
Bye,
Bye.
you too. Thank you, Charmaine, for coming.
You're welcome. It was amazing.
Thank you.
Great
Thank you.
job.
The meeting was
Charlene.
wonderful.
Thank you, Lawrence. I was a little nervous.
You did great. It was very good.
Thank you, Kay. Thank you. You're a sweetheart.